Um, Hello, everybody. My name is Dirty Red, or you can also call me Sawyer. Sawyer is my real name. Um, and this video is really kind of for myself, but for also the people that are also kind of going, you know, a similar experience that I'm going through. I'm 23 years old, from Dallas, Texas. I currently live in Houston, and yeah, just kind of get to it. So I know how to get to first person. Whatever. So I have been going through a lot in my life recently. I recently just ended a almost 2 year relationship with my girlfriend. I I graduated college this in May of 2025, and have been struggling ever since then. I found a job, you know, and things have been going great. But unfortunately, you know, a few months after working, I was unfortunately let go. Not to anything that I've done, or not to my own fault, but to the fault of just the company. Uh, they, they put it very blunt to me. They're like, hey, they probably got some generic talk that they tell everybody that they let go. It's like, hey, it's not your fault. You know, we as a company just weren't. We as a company did not have enough work for the amount of staff we had, and that hurt because upon graduation, I had a lot of job offers. I had like maybe 4 or 5 job offers, throughout the state of Texas, and I really just put my heart and my everything into the job, and I tried my best, and I did my best to learn and kind of excel in my position, and you know, it just never worked out, and it hurts. It hurted. It still hurts to this day because you I thought, you know, I made it in a sense. I thought that I, you know, I thought I accomplished my dream goal. I was, you know, the the goal of being wanted and being prioritized and cared about. So I thought that this job gave me that sense of security I looked for. I thought that upon getting this job and working, that hey, I'm making a good amount of money. I was able to get my own apartment, my first apartment ever. I was able to, live. I was able to provide for my girlfriend and provide for my family and and I thought I made it. Uh, I thought that I wasn't going to have anything to worry about. I thought that I was in a secure
No
position.
free slots in ship
Talked
inventory.
about that things would be good, and they haven't.
Component repaired.
Things haven't been good. You know, have been harder, actually. I struggled a lot after being let go. I just couldn't process it. You know what I mean? I could understand why me, why go through all the necessary steps to get me here, and to get me in, and to move from Dallas to Houston, and to get me a part of projects, and do all this hiring, and onboarding, training, and putting me a part of all these projects. When at the end of the day, I was gonna be let go. Like, why put me through that? Why put you through that? And it hurt. And I got started working in May, and I got laid off in I got laid off in September, the second or third week of September, and yeah, it just was never really a good feeling. And I tried to process it and understand, and it's like, hey, better things are going to come from this. You know what I mean? Like, this is not a end all be all. You're not just your job. You're not just you're much more than that. Like, I have a bachelor's degree in science. I have multiple years of research experience and being much more. So like, I didn't want this job to be my reason of just like existing. You know what I mean? But in some sense, it hurt. Uh, really try to understand, like, this is not how things are. Again, this is corporate America, corporate world, it's the corporate life. Shit happens like that. Part of my language, but I just have to understand that. And yeah, initially, I eventually found another job. For me, maybe I was probably, you know, I was let go in September. And I found my job in November. My new job as an environmental consultant or environmental scientist. I found, you know, thought I found thought I found, some place that like that valued me, and valued my skills and my experience, and would help me develop every day. And again, it's a good job. I would never say this job is bad, but the I'm I'm on an hourly position. I'm on a as needed position, and it's like, how am I going to pay my bills on a we'll let you know when we need you, or again, you're on the ass needed, so you're not really a priority. Or, you know, you're not a priority until we need you. And you know, that's been very hard on my conscience. That's the competition I'm in. And, you know, I, my girlfriend, I met my girlfriend in May, not May, in October, September of 2023. And it was one of the best feelings I, I've ever had. She was smart, she was funny, she was attractive, you know, she was all of this. And, when our just initial conversation, it just felt so real. It felt genuine. It felt like we had to put on the facade of who we were and, try to make up a conversation and, not be awkward with each other. It just felt like, although we just met, I've known you. And it's one of the best feelings I've felt in a while. And she was everything to me. Uh, I do still love her. And I will always love her because she was not only my first girlfriend, she showed me what it feels like to love another person. That's not family or something like that. She showed me what it feels like to love somebody other than yourself. We had our moments. We struggled. I struggled. She struggled. You know, we're human at the end of the day. We have our problems. We're trying to adjust and accommodate your life and my life to each other. You don't know me. I don't know you. And somehow, I do. Somehow, I did love you. I do love you. I want to continue to grow and flourish with you. Yeah, I struggle accepting that. I'm not hearing that. I struggle to what that love is, and it's not that I struggle in a sense that like she doesn't love me or this isn't gonna last long. I struggle in the sense of like I've never felt that way about somebody. I've never just really felt that type of love and compassion with anybody or towards anybody. And never have I just sat and reciprocated it. We had our moments where we had arguments and we said things we didn't mean, but it was always love at the end of the day. Yeah, I love it. I look for that. I got nothing to hide. Grown man. I'm in tune to touching my feelings. And it's not even since that I feel that way because she's gone. I've always felt that way. She's known. I've always felt that. I've never had to prove it to her. this past few 5 months, 6 months have just been hard for me. You know, she lives in Dallas, I live in Houston, and it's like you know, we see each other, you know, whenever it's possible. Um, just like it's just so short, and I just, I wish, you know, that we, the timing when we were together, we just moved a little bit slower. I wish that I wasn't as harsh as I was. I wish I wasn't as put on this facade or this persona over myself and just allow myself to feel. You know, I said I love this woman. I really wanted to start something over. I really, wanted a future with her. And of course, that's just not the case anymore. Think about her every day. Think about her every day. Every day I think about her. How she made me happy and how she made me smile and how she made me feel. And how she was my first true sense of love, my first true sense of security, and how that what I had going in my one of my life was a priority. Somebody cared. She felt like that, and she was that. You know, yeah. I didn't always. Sometimes she would always listen to me, and sometimes I wouldn't always listen to her. But we always we always had each other at the end of the day. Like nothing could push us away from wanting to end us. Like no one can get in a relationship. No, there was no cheating that I'm aware of. On my side, I don't know about her, but that was never my concern. We trusted each other. We were loyal and we loved each other. But I just had things I couldn't fight. I had things I couldn't do and couldn't get over with. You know, one of my biggest things is like I like to joke around and pick around at people, and I don't purposely mean it. I don't mean it to be rude. I don't mean it to hurt anybody. I do it in a sense of keeping myself protected. You know, not allowing myself to be vulnerable and to be caught. I grew up always, I didn't grow up in a bad home. I grew up with two loving parents who cared about me and cared about my siblings and our childhood and how we were raised. But it also came to the point where I was never truly believed. You know, my parents would always think that I'm joking or I'm playing around. Uh, and not being serious. And you I've always wanted to be taken serious. I struggled as a kid. I joked around. I paid too much. And again, it was a safety guard. It was a safety net on you
Unit
know
received.
not allowing myself to be caught and to be vulnerable. And you know, like no one truly believed me. No one. Everyone thought I was just a joke. And that you don't believe Zaire. It's like imagine telling that to a child growing up. Throughout his childhood, it's like eventually I'm going to start to believe that like all I do is play around. I'm going to start to adopt that. You know, I did. I adopted that. I adopted that. And through our relationship, that's kind of just what I did. I just played around and I joked and you can call it what you want. You can call it a level, a state of emotional maturity, or you can call it whatever you want to call it. But it was a way of protecting myself. You I grew up angry. I grew up rageful. I grew up mad at the world. I was never sure why. I was never sure what the world did to me to cause me anger, frustration, and rage. But back into the relationship was again like I talked to her, called, texted her one day, and we talked, and I was like, hey, like I was going through some things. And again, I love this woman. I do, I really do. Even now, even though we're in a no contact point, and she's probably out doing her thing. I love her. I wish nothing. I wish. I don't wish anything bad to happen to her. All I wish is that she can feel the love that I can never give her. I want to be so much more for her. I want to work on controlling my temper. I want to work on how I play and how I joke and how I approach us and how I approach myself and how I approach situations. I've always, I want to be that for her. I wanted to marry this woman. I wanted this woman to be a woman that I love for the rest of my life. But now that's not the case. You know, my love was so real for her, and it will continue to. But now there's nothing I can say or do to win her back. You know, we discussed about getting back together and see if that's what we want. I want this woman to be be the love of my life. You know, I want this to be something so much more than just so much more than just dating. Sorry about my conversations are kind of weird. We'll pick this up in part two.